So, our theme for this month is being in the flow. Okay? So, when we think about flow, right, we think about some steady movement. Okay, steady movement, kind of like water or like electricity. It flows easily without obstruction. And when we think about being, that's really our essence, right? It's who we are. It's our soul. So if you put it all together about being in the flow, right? We're present, we're here, our essence is here, we're not distracted by anything, and we're allowing things to move in and out as they should be without obstruction. But it's active. And so some folks have called it active, effortless effort. Okay? Active, effortless effort. So I'm not talking about, that marijuana high, I'm just going to kind of let it flow. We're actually talking about something that's active that requires some level of skill, some level of thought and awareness of yourself and everything that's around you. There's a Chinese philosopher that described it as there's no interference with the way. Okay? You lose yourself, and it requires skill. And so he talks about tradesmen back in the ancient days. And he tells a story of an ancient tradesman who was a butcher. And he was good at butchering ox. Okay? And at first, when he started out in his career, he really had to pay attention to that ox and what he was actually doing. And it really didn't flow very easily because he had to pay attention to this part and this part and this part. But once he got experience, he was watched and noticed that he would kind of almost dance his arms, his body, as he was, over the years, butchering this ox or his ox. And he would always come to a couple of difficult parts, and he would have to focus and pay attention and stop a little bit of the flow, but not entirely, but enough to really get over the tough part. And then once he was done, he was back in the flow of things. He also tells a different story of a fish. The fish decides, today I'm going to swim in this direction. Okay? And he sees a shark. But I'm going to swim in this direction. Well, it wasn't a really good result for the fish in the end, right? Sometimes what we do is we blindly decide, this is the way I'm going to go. And nobody's going to stop me. And I'm not going to pay attention to anything. And we get into trouble. We get into trouble. So it's a real balance. I mean, life is such a balance. We've got to figure out, how am I going to flow with the things that I love, yet how am I going to pay attention and navigate the rest of the world when sometimes I really don't want to hear what they have to tell me because I want to go where I want to go. So I've had that experience as well. My uncle taught me how to cook. So at age 11, I was a latchkey kid, but my uncle was there to sort of bail me out sometimes. And he'd open the refrigerator and he'd say, okay, Tina, what do you want to make today for supper? Okay, and at first it was kind of intimidating. And then really now today, nothing makes me happier than to be sitting with a box of spices. And, really great spices, cumin, chili pepper, lots of garlic, just all kinds of great things, not really necessarily knowing what I'm going to do with them. And I feel stifled. My flow stops if instead I have to make American comfort food. It's like, really, the flow sort of stops. So, if folks want that comfort food, I have to pay attention to it. I'm not going to make a bunch of spicy food. Let's just do takeout, okay? So we can compromise. I can have my spice, and somebody else can have their comfort food. Okay, so there's a modern-day psychologist by the name of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I'm going to probably mispronounce her name. And she studies flow state. Okay? And she studied, highly self-motivated, high-performing individuals, okay? So people like mountain climbers, surgeons, ballet dancers. And she found that people that were active were in the flow state better than those people that were just passive and receptive. I'm going to always just go with the flow and not pay attention. And so when these folks focused on clarity and passion and their flow, those endorphins, those self-endorphins sort of came out there, and that's how they felt the ecstasy, and they were fulfilled. So kind of a different way of thinking about it. There's also a theory called optimal conscious functioning, where we lose awareness of time and emotion, and we're active, but it almost feels effortless, where people develop this almost focused transformation. So we read in the news recently, during the Olympics, there was a gymnast, Simone Biles, right? And so she dropped out for a while, temporarily, out of the Olympic challenge for a while because her flow stopped, okay? The mind and the body's connected. And she was going through depression, okay? And I don't know if you see what those gymnasts do, but my goodness, they take a lot of physical risks with their bodies. If I tried doing that, there's no way that I would survive. So she knew that she'd be taking her life into her hands because she knew that her mind and her body weren't flowing together to do it. So she took a time out. So she paid attention to herself and her body. She said, okay, I need a little time. Then her mojo came back, and she was able to win a couple of medals, okay? So sometimes we have to take our time out. And the reason we have our monthly themes, like being in the flow, is we kind of all know intellectually that we need to be in the flow, or that we need to stay in the light, or whatever the theme might be for the month, but we forget because we get stuck, or we get lost in ourselves, or what other people might think about us. So now I'm going to encourage you to stand up, and this is a movement and meditation service too. So I'm going to take 5-minute breaks about every 8 minutes so that we can do some movement, because part of what we do in movement as meditation service is try to incorporate what we've learned in our heads with what's going on with our bodies, okay? So I like to do the first one just to help us get rid of what no longer serves us. So I encourage you just to stand, feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent, so it's a strong stance. A strong stance, and we're going to stay anchored like this. And I encourage you to take just 3 deep breaths. And stay focused. And we're going to do some Qigong movements. I'm going to ask you to take your arms and swing from one side to the other. So Qigong is about unsticking stuck energy. It's about letting those positive and negative ions flow. Okay? And if you kind of slap your sides, you might even be able to slap your kidneys too. And you know, a lot of good things flow through those kidneys. Those kidneys clean a lot of toxins from the body. Give those kidneys a little extra tap. Thank them for all the work that they do. And just think about unsticking your whole body. If you have any aches or pains, think about that part now. And just send some movement energy to it to kind of unstick it. If your heart is heavy, think about unsticking that. If your mind is stuck, unstick that. And we're going to help all of those things in just a little bit. Okay, 2 more times. Oh, and now I'm going to ask you to take one hand and just tap at your head, because we're going to unstick whatever mindsets you might be having right now that's not allowing you to think freely. What is sticking you? What emotions are there? In that head, there's pride, there's fear, there's guilt, there's stubbornness, there's the desire to flow. So just let it. For this hour, just free your mind. Allow it to be conscious. Okay, and then with both hands, tap on your cheekbones. And as we tap on the cheekbones, this might help your sinuses, by the way, if your sinuses are a little clogged. But a lot flows through these sinuses. And during the time of a COVID pandemic, it doesn't hurt to just let things flow throughout our whole nasal passage airway. Allow good air to flow in and CO2 to flow out. And with one hand, we're going to move down to our hearts. Just kind of between our heart and our thymus. This is where there's stuck energy. This is sometimes where we don't want to say what we want to say. Sometimes we don't speak our truth. Sometimes our heart hurts. Our heart gets broken. We're afraid to open our heart. Open our heart. Just unstick it. Let those valves work like they're supposed to work. Let the blood flow in and out. And let it flow to the rest of your body. You're kind of also hitting your lungs too. Let that air freely flow within your body. And let's tap the belly with both hands. Fire in the belly is where energy gets stuck, but this is also where we can sometimes take action. This is where the bravery starts to actively do things. That active flow, that active, effortless flow. But get rid of the fire in the belly that doesn't serve you anymore. If there's any anger here, just get rid of it. Let it go. Okay, and then we're going to shake those hands and let anything else that's left or stuck shake from every part of your body to the tips of your fingers. Just let it go. And you can just shake your hands, or you can shake the rest of yourself if you want. And keeping those feet on the ground, if you want to shake your legs, shake your arms, let everything shake. Just let it go. Shake, 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 shake. Let it go, let it go, let it go. And stop. One hand on your belly. One hand on your heart. Send love and permission to yourself to heal, to flow, to be conscious. Okay, I invite you to have a seat. So, Lao Tzu says life is a series of natural, spontaneous choices. Let reality be reality and let things flow. Because everything's connected, right? Okay, everything is connected. So daily, we have to respond to our environment, and we have to do a daily check. What's going on with me today? Okay? And before I walk out that door, how do I integrate what's going on with me today with what's going on with the world, with what it is I want to accomplish? Where are the contradictory energies? Let me just take a quick assessment and let it flow in and out as it should today. First in this moment, and then as it should today. So if we're here on this earth to heal, to learn, sometimes to feel pain, and to grow from it all, we realize that we have a lot of evolving to do. And we have these cycles in our life that happens. And they repeat themselves, right? They repeat themselves over and over again. And, we know that. We know, gosh, this happened to me, something like this happened to me 5 years ago. What did I learn from it? If we can stop and take those moments and learn and do it again in a different way, because even if we created a mess the last time or the time before that or the time before that, it's not too late. It's not too late to create a new flow. It's not too late, because this is now and things are different now. So in relationships, we feel the rightness of things, right? Sometimes we meet somebody and that conversation just flows. It's like, okay, maybe I want a relationship here. And energy flows where intention goes, right? So then we can create a whole different dynamic when we let it flow with another person, and our energy and intention flows along with it. So about 7 years ago, I was flying back from Washington, D.C. On a business trip, and I was thinking about the next thing I was going to do in my job. And one of the small things that I would do for my job is arrange for this annual seminar. And I really loved that part of the job, because basically almost every health system in Minnesota would attend. They were competing hospitals, physician groups, insurance companies, and they would come to this seminar. And what my company did was measure the cost and quality of healthcare in Minnesota. Pretty dry topic. But every year I kind of tried to think of a new theme to keep everybody engaged for a day. So I found it exciting. So I got on this plane, and I wanted to work and really focus, because I had 2 hours now on this plane. And it's like, what's the theme? Who am I going to invite? How am I going to chop up this day? So everybody gets excited. And there's a woman that sits next to me. And I thought, I really don't want a chatty Kathy next to me. I really got to get some work done. But somehow, a conversation just started. And it flowed, and it flowed, and it flowed, and it flowed. And we talked for the whole 2 hours. 20 minutes into the thing, I realized, this is Sharon Sales Belton, the ex-mayor of Minneapolis. That's why, when we talked about our love of Minneapolis, it flowed. That's why when we were talking about healthcare, it flowed, because she was also doing some consulting in healthcare. And so we started talking, and then it's like, so Sharon, you want to be the keynote speaker at my seminar? Sure. And what did she talk about? Well, I decided in that 2 hours, I really wasn't working on the seminar, but in my head I was working on the seminar. So the topic was going to be now social challenges in cost and quality of healthcare. And she was going to speak on poverty and crime. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. So things begin to line up, okay? And it gets contagious when you allow it to flow with other people. I mean, miracles sometimes happen. So has anyone seen the movie Coda? Okay. Yeah? You saw it? Okay. So I'm going to ruin it for some of you who haven't seen it, but it's still worth seeing. Okay. So it's a movie about a young girl who could hear, but she was born to deaf parents, and she had a deaf brother. And so her family, her mother and father, owned their own fishing business. And she basically grew up at a very young age brokering the deals, selling the fish for her deaf family. She'd go out with fishermen, you know, and do some things, and she'd actually sell to the merchants. So she was really a critical part of this family. It also happens that she was a gifted singer. And her parents never knew it, right? They were deaf. So she went to school, and a music teacher discovered her gift and encouraged her to sing. And she was so gifted that he was able to get her a scholarship. And the parents, were obviously very frightened. They didn't want her to go because they wanted her to follow their flow. You have a lifelong job with us and our business. But she didn't want to be a fisherman. And so she was really caught. And so she got accepted. Well, she had this interview at a prestigious Ivy League school, and she had to do a song interview because I guess she was going to major in singing. And so she told, since her parents objected, she said, "Okay, I'll stay. And I won't interview." And apparently more and more people started encouraging her to do the interview. And finally, last minute, she showed up with her parents at the audition. And she stood up in front of the group, and the judges were judging her, and she froze. She felt guilt, because she knew that she could be abandoning her parents and their livelihood. And it was hard for her in that moment to get unstuck. So the piano player started the song, and she just could not sing. So took a moment. The piano player started the music, and lo and behold, in the balcony, her parents show up. Her deaf parents and her brother. And she wasn't planning on it, but she must have thought, what can I do? Here are the people that I love that are showing up for me right now. So she sang the song while sign languaging. And so she was singing for the judges, so the judges could hear her beautiful voice, and her parents could see the beautiful words. And I can't remember the name of the song right now, but it's the Joni Mitchell song. I've looked at life from both sides now. I really don't know life at all. So anyways, it was a beautiful song for the parents to see her sign, because she was also telling them, probably unintentionally, thank you for allowing me to experience a different life, because now you know that just fishing with my deaf parents isn't really experiencing life. So a lot of flowing going on there. So going with the flow doesn't necessarily mean giving up or being flaky or being blindly committed. It's staying in balance with what you need and figuring out how to align it with something larger than yourself. Okay, I'm going to encourage you to stand up again. So the first Qigong exercise was getting unstuck. So now, though, we're going to take some poses just to allow the energy flow into us. Okay, we got rid of stuck energy. Now let's let some of the good energy flow. So same thing, feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent, and Gary's going to put on the music, and we're going to stand still like a willow tree with its roots firmly on the ground and its branches and its leaves touching the water. There's no stagnant water around a willow tree. Take a look the next time. Okay, now you're going to need some room for this one, so you're going to need to spread out from the pews. I'm going to encourage you now to slowly touch Mother Earth, or as best as you can. If you can't quite touch the ground, you can bend your knees a little more, or you could just point to Mother Earth. But as you're doing this, thank Mother Earth for all she has given you, for all that she has given you that flows through you every day. The food that grows from her Mother Earth, the water that you drink from Mother Earth, the way that she nourishes you every day unconditionally. Thank this earth with gratitude. Now slowly, slowly come up, because I know at least one of you has vertigo. Slowly come up. And raise those hands to Father Sky. Father Sky, where the air that we breathe comes from, the sunlight, lots of great energy, the wind, the elements, in gratitude, thank Father Sky for the light that allows us to grow, the vitamin D3 he gives us, the sunshine for the plants for the animals to eat, all the connectedness between Father Sky and Mother Earth. Now stay where you are, and I'm going to turn around. And you might want to face east here, okay? And I'm going to ask you to take your hands and open your heart wide as we're facing the east, okay? Pushing your chest out, opening your heart. We're facing the east, where the sun comes up in the morning, where birth begins, where spring happens and spring flowers pop up. Just so happens that we happen also to be looking at a picture of Jesus there too, huh? Hi, Jesus. But spring happens every year. That cycle of spring, summer, fall, and winter we can rely on every year. Every year. Now I'll ask you to turn to the south. Arms wide, heart wide open, giving love to summer, allowing the love of summer to come in, where things really mature. flowers are in full bloom. Many crops and plants are grown. Some of the fresh vegetables are happening. This is where we really start to be productive, reach a level of maturity, be grateful for the summer of our lives. Whether we're living it or whether we have lived it, it still comes around for us in some way every year. Thank you. And turn to the west. The west, fall, where the sun sets, where we can rest. Fall harvest. We just had the fall equinox. Thank you for this season as we really mature, as we can start to pull together so many things that we have learned in life and assimilate it and use it and put it to good use, not just for ourselves, but for others. Thank you. And let's face the north. Heart open, giving love to the north, receiving love from the north, where winter happens, where we're able to rest and allow things to rest enough so there can be a cycle of rebirth in the spring. This is the time to regroup. This is the time to eat that comfort food. It can be hot and spicy, but just to regenerate. Hopefully this year to meet with family, and certainly to meet with yourself. Give time for yourself to reflect. Thank you, North and the winter, for this time, so we can start a whole new cycle. Okay, come back to me. And I'm going to ask you to put your hands on your heart. And from your heart that's received all this love, open your hands, palm of your hand to the heavens, the other palm to the earth, making yourself a channel between heaven and earth, letting that energy flow freely through you, into you, and from you. And reverse that. The other palm up, the other palm down. Take a deep breath while you're allowing it to flow. And both hands to your heart, and have a seat. Oh, there's a quote that I like. And when you are in the flow, you are surfing life force with wakeful trust. I'm going to repeat that. When you are in the flow, you are surfing life force with wakeful trust. Okay, I like that. Okay, and flowing water never gets stale, right? And there's the waterfall concept, right? So as things flow, they increase in momentum, just like a waterfall. And so if we take whatever comes to us and put it to good use, and then pass it on, allow life to flow freely from us, just like the teacher in the movie Coda that I described, that child came to him, he had to eventually let that child go into something greater than him or that school. But he gave that child to the world. And things would then continue to grow. Okay. So there's an ebb and flow to everything, right? A new life is formed when another life ends. A tide flows in and out. The seasons come and go. And things happen every year. Okay. I used to go to a cabin in Wisconsin, and a neighbor told me, "Oh, do you know that there are morels every spring?" It's like, I walked that ground and never saw the morels. And it's like, no, let me show you. So we walked, back a little ways from the cabin, and I thought, I don't know, foraging for mushrooms, isn't that supposed to be dangerous? And he showed me the first morel. I was like, oh, that's really different. It's really unique, right? Has anybody seen morels? Morel mushrooms are really unique. It's hard to make a mistake with them. And it's like, okay, now that I know what a morel looks like, there's another. And there's another. And there's another. There's never only just one morel. And so sometimes what we have to do, whether it's feeling the flow, we also have to open our eyes. We have to keep our eyes open every day. So if we follow joy and purpose and act with integrity, and we keep mindful of our connectedness, we have the ability to move into a higher vibration. Okay? People that we like hanging around with, we say, I really like their vibe. Okay? And if we are all a part of God, if everything in this universe is a part of God, if we all go in that flow, we have the ability to collectively raise the vibration of the entire universe. And if our souls are our vitality, and we think about it as a little tributary of a river, and we're flowing into the bigger ocean of the universe, and it's flowing to us, and we're all in it, in this life somehow, and in eternity somehow. A lot can happen. And maybe, just maybe, we need to think about our daily lives, living life, but also with that eternity in our minds and in our hearts as we live it. Okay, I'm going to ask you to stand up. And we're going to do our last Qigong exercise. And then after that, we're going to do a meditation. And then there's going to be a YouTube to watch after the meditation. So when I gong the gong, you may want to open your eyes so that you could see the YouTube later towards the end. Okay, so Gary's going to play the next song. Same stance, feet slightly apart, knees slightly bent. And we're going to remember to take a breath. And we're going to raise those hands. And put one foot forward, a nice wide steady stance. And we're going to move now. Qigong now isn't just about unsticking energy and having good energy come into you, but it's also about just allowing it to flow. And we're just going to create some clean energy around us right now. We're clearing space, making even more room for good energy to flow around us. Pushing the air out. Okay, and we're going to do one more. And then I'm going to ask you, when your hands are in front, just reverse that. Bring the arms to you, and then do a backstroke. Bringing energy, flow, love, alignment to you. Okay, one more. And then I'm going to ask you to take the other foot forward. We're going to do the same thing, okay? First, push out. Making room for more to flow to you for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week, for the rest of your life. Make room so that you can see synergy and opportunity. Okay, now with those hands in front of us, bring it back to us. Bring back all of what you want to flow into your life to you. Allow yourself to receive it. Sweeping from all the opportunity that you have. It's endless. Okay. Now forward. We're going to take those hands at the belly level. One hand about 4 inches from your belly, the other hand a few inches away from that. And we're going to do a slow up and down energy, aligning the chi. And when the hands are up and down, you're going to bring them back. And you're basically doing a circular movement with your hands. One to fall in front of the other. You're aligning male and female energy. You're aligning the positive and the negative ions. You're bringing everything into balance, right? Because it's all about balance, alignment, experiencing everything in balance. don't forget to breathe and envision everything flowing in you from head to toe, freely, effortlessly. And think of all the emotions that bring you joy. And particularly, don't forget about love. Okay. We're going to stop with the hands in front of us. Bring the hands slightly apart. And in between our hands, imagine there's that ball of energy that you've built, that ball of love, that ball of perfect love that has flowed through you. And you're holding so much of it with love. And surround that ball with love, with fondness and gratitude. And take that ball and slowly give it up to the universe. Connecting your loving soul with the souls of the universe. With your hands coming down on your heart, I encourage you to have a seat. And we're going to begin our meditation . I forgot to put a chair up here. Okay. Some of you are very experienced meditators, so do what you normally do. I like to have my feet usually on the ground. I guess I'm going to be on the chair. Put your feet firmly on the ground. I like to have my palms up and fingers up. And sometimes I like to have the tip of my tongue to the roof of my mouth, sort of connecting to that crown chakra in some way. Do however you're comfortable, but let's take a few deep breaths, and we're going to do a little guided meditation with a couple of minutes of silence. So take some deep breaths. Envisioning light above your head. Breathing in that light into your nostrils and into your lungs. Circulating that air throughout your entire body with warm, loving flow of the air. Moving into your circulatory system, filling your veins and arteries with warm love, protecting you. And also as you're breathing in, think of that warm air circulating totally around your body, encirculating and encapsulating you as though you were in a protective womb, filled with radiance, sunshine, and love. And while you're feeling protected, with your feet firmly on the ground, envision a stream, a big stream, flowing around your feet while your feet are still firmly on the ground. That stream is huge. It's the stream, it's the ocean of your ancestors, all who have given you life and love. It's that flow of God, from God, flowing to you. And just sit there for a while, imagining yourself full of loving, warm light from the sky and flowing love of God, your ancestors, and the universe.
In the ever-shifting waters of the river of this life, I was swimming, seeking comfort. I was wrestling waves to find a boulder I could cling to, a stone to hold me fast, where I let the fretful waters of this river round me pass. So I found an anchor, a blessed resting place, a trusty rock I called my Savior. There I would be safe from the river and its dangers, and I proclaimed my rock divine, and I prayed to it protect me, and the rock replied, God is a river, not just a stone. God is a wild raging rapids and a slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shore. God is a river swimmer, so let go. Still I clung to my rock tightly with conviction in my arms, never looking at the stream to keep my mind from thoughts of harm. But the river kept on coming, kept on tugging at my legs, till at last my fingers faltered and I was swept away. So I'm going with the flow now, these relentless twists and bends, acclimating to the motion and a sense of being led. And this river is like my body now, it carries me along through the ever-changing scenes and by the rocks that sing this song. God is a river, not just a storm. God is a wild raging rapids and slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage and a peaceful sandy shore. God is a river swimmer, so let go. God is the river swimmer. So let go.
So I encourage you to stand up. We're going to do a closing circle, but I'm going to ask you, instead of touching, stand like this in a circle. If you're comfortable coming up and forming the circle here, if you want to stay a little more at a distance, that's fine too. But we're not going to hold hands, but we're going to send flowing, loving energy around the circle. Okay. So as we do the closing thing, imagine the energy flowing out of your right hand and then to you, to your left hand. Okay? So start that now. Flow it out your right, receive with your left, and just allow that to flow. So Mother, Father, God, Spirit, angels, ancestors, all who love us, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you have given us. And as we progress on with our day and our lives, allow us to remember to stay open and aligned and aware and flow with all the love and opportunity that comes our way. Aho. Thank you. Thank you.